Alright guys, I'm going to cut directly to the chase. Addiction is not something that you have to live with. It's a choice. That's all it is. It comes down to a choice. And you have the ability to get the help you need and change. And you have the ability to stay in your whatever it is you're doing. But more often than not, the people who struggle with addiction, they don't want to be addicted. So considering that the typical alcoholic hates the fact that he's an alcoholic, considering the fact that most people who, shoot methamphetamine or whatever, they at the core of their being, they want to get off of it. Just that means you need to get off of it. No more sympathizing with the bullshit. You need to get the help that you need. And if that means going to rehab, then do it. I've talked to a handful of people about addiction over the years, and one of the greatest ways to break addictions is to strategically relocate yourself to an environment where there is no chance in hell that you're going to get the substance to, get your fix. So sometimes people require this. Sometimes people need to be launched into a foreign environment that is not comfortable to them, such as rehab, so that they can break through the initial awkward period of getting sober. The beautiful thing about rehab as well, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's medical supervision depending on the one you go to, and there's a handful of benefits. So I've always recommended that you seek professional attention and advice before you get sober. But that's, you've got to stop giving yourself all these pathetic excuses. And I don't mean to sound rough with my words, but again, I can understand where you are because I've been through addiction. I've struggled with it, but I've been sober for so long that my fuse is running rather short, ladies and gentlemen. I've used up all my patience when it comes to sobriety, because there's a good chance that if you don't get sober quick, depending on what you're using, it's going to kill you quickly. It might take a little bit of time, or you might just end up killing yourself, slowly with cigarettes or whatever it is. So I know that you don't want to live under the jurisdiction of accelerated decay, and that's what addiction more often than not accelerates, ladies and gentlemen. The decay process, the destruction, is putting more stress on your body. So getting through the initial period, the initial awkward period of sobriety, that's the key, ladies and gentlemen. That's where half the battle is. Half the battle is in that first period of breaking through your addictions. Once you get through that really hard first week, 2 weeks, or a month, sometimes even longer, you can retrain your brain and your mind to be calm without the substance. And if you choose to not give in to temptation after you've gotten sober initially, what you'll find is that the longer you stay sober, ladies and gentlemen, at least for me, I can't speak for you, but the longer you stay sober, the less you'll crave the substance, and eventually it will be like a skin tag breaking off of your body, and it'll leave you eventually. It'll be like a scab, be like a scab on your body healing. Or what would be another analogy? I don't know. I think you catch my drift. So some people struggle with this, though. Some people will get sober and then they have temptation to go back to it. And at that point, ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest analyzing who you're spending time with, your friends. What are you doing on the weekends? What are you doing every night? Sometimes you've got to really radically reposition yourself and what you do on a daily basis. Sometimes you've got to get rid of some people in your life. So oftentimes addictions are heavily fueled by environment, and they're heavily fueled by the people in our lives. I've seen personally people be sober off of pharmaceutical drugs, go right back to them after a long period of sobriety just by being around certain people. It's like the switch clicks and your rationality goes right out the window. With sobriety, you've got to enter into a state of what is similar to what I've been talking about lately about controlling your reaction to stimulus. In fact, it's ideally the same thing. You see, more often than not, you have stimulus comes into your life and you react. Stimulus, reaction. You've got to learn how to control your reaction. More often than not, reactions to things, including temptations and addictions, are automatic. You've been doing them for so long that you don't have like the brain wiring like your synapses and everything they're wired to just react a certain way. So you could throw yourself into an environment, ladies and gentlemen, where you can't have an addiction, for instance, and then once you leave that environment, your brain will recalibrate and go, okay, I'm not in that environment anymore. I'm just going to keep following the same old brain pattern. I hope that makes sense. It's easy to get sober when you're forced to, when you're in a situation where your hands are handcuffed, metaphorically speaking, where you're in a structured environment. The real test is when you go back to your old environment, where your creature comforts are. And this is where questioning your friends and your inner circle, you name it, becomes really crucial. But we've got to learn to act as an intermediary. The stimulus reaction formula is flawed, because stimulus should not just equate to reaction. With certain things like survival, it should. But with everyday things, including addiction, ladies and gentlemen, or anger, we've got to learn to make the stimulus reaction formula have a 3-part system instead of just 2, reaction or stimulus and reaction. It needs to be stimulus, intermediary, and then reaction. You've got to learn to enter the gap between stimulus and reaction so that you can alter your reaction. Until this is mastered, ladies and gentlemen, until you put this into play, you are going to have some serious issues with addiction, especially if you're going to continue hanging out with the people that you hang out with when you use. That can be very difficult. Let's just put it that way. So you have the choice to get sober. You have the choice to put these things into motion, ladies and gentlemen. There are no more excuses. It's 2020. We are in the midst of a new world order melting pot. There are much greater things to strive for in life. There are much greater ways to use your time. There are legal ways to uplift your consciousness, ladies and gentlemen, and make you feel 10,000-fold better than drug use and all this other nonsense. And alcohol somehow, some way is legal. So I don't mean, and I'm not recommending that you go from using some hard drug to using alcohol. No, just because alcohol is legal. Alcohol is legal, and it kills a lot of people. I cannot believe that something as destructive and depressive as alcohol is legal. Now, I like to believe that we can live in a world where we have access to harmful substances, and even though they're there, we can use our control and our moderation. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form against making things illegal. I think when you make things legal, you can control the regulation of them and the safety of them. But that's not being demonstrated, however, with alcohol, at least in my opinion. Alcohol is something that's legal, that's highly dangerous, that it's advertised in a way that almost makes it seem cool to abuse. We'll talk more about that in the future, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to give you a brief little update. You can stay sober. I've done it. If you can do it, or if I can do it, you can do it, vice versa. There's nothing to lose by getting sober other than the part of yourself that's killing yourself. So again, there are legal ways to uplift your consciousness. It's just incredible. There are so many different things that you can use to uplift your mind that don't kill you. It's just incredible. But anyways, you guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. Get sober. You are the only one in your way of doing so. Put the wheels in motion and get the help you need. I believe in you.